Welcome back to Gambling Flow, your daily dose of all things gambling. I'm Russell Kane.
And I'm Fiona Blake.
So today, we're diving deep into gambling movies on Netflix.
Yeah, we've been doing some research, and there's a pretty diverse selection. I mean, we've got action, drama, thrillers, documentaries, you name it.
I mean, and some are even based on real-life events. Some are pure fiction.
Right.
I mean, it's amazing to see all the different ways that gambling can be portrayed, on screen. And Netflix seems to have something for everyone. Let's start with a classic, Casino Royale.
Oh, a classic. Daniel Craig as James Bond, that high-stakes poker game at Casino Royale in Monte Carlo. It's just iconic.
It's so intense you can practically feel the pressure in that room as Bond is trying to outsmart Luchef.
Oh, yeah.
And the setting is just incredible, pure glamour.
Absolutely. But Casino Royale is more than just a gambling movie, right?
Right.
It's a battle of wits, a psychological duel between Bond and the villain. It's about strategy, deception, and really being able to read your opponent.
And of course, there's always a beautiful woman, just to add another layer of intrigue to the whole story.
Exactly. But let's shift gears a bit. We've been talking about this glamorous side of gambling, but Netflix also has some films that explore the much darker side of things.
Uncut Gems with Adam Sandler comes to mind.
Oh, that movie is intense.
It is.
It's raw, it's gritty, and it just shows just how devastating the impact of gambling addiction can have on someone's life.
Right.
I mean, Sandler's character, Howard Ratner, is constantly chasing the next big win, but it always seems to, just get him into deeper and deeper trouble.
It really does.
Yeah.
And Uncut Gems doesn't shy away from showing that desperation and the, downward spiral that can happen when gambling takes over.
Yeah.
The scenes with Arno, the loan shark. I mean, talk about unsettling.
Definitely not a lighthearted watch.
Yeah.
But it's such a powerful film. It just really gets under your skin.
It does.
And it's a reminder that gambling for some people, it's not just about the thrill. It's more about a compulsion that they can't control. Absolutely. And speaking of control, or lack thereof, let's move on to a documentary that offers a more analytical view of gambling, Money Explained.
Yeah, this series dives into all sorts of financial topics, and there's one episode that focuses specifically on gambling. They even feature Maria Konnikova, a professional poker player.
Oh, yeah.
And author who's studied the psychology of gambling.
Extensively.
She offers some really, really interesting insights into how casinos are designed to make money and the strategies that some people use to try to beat the system.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's just fascinating to see like how the house always has the edge, but also how some people will try and tilt the odds in their favor through skill strategy.
Yes.
Which leads us perfectly into 21, a movie all about using math to beat the casino.
Yes. Based on a true story about the MIT blackjack team.
Yeah.
21 shows how this group of students use card counting to win big.
Classic underdog story. Brains over brawn.
Absolutely.
But it does raise some interesting ethical questions, right? Is card counting cheating? Or is it just a clever way to use your skills? Where do you draw the line?
It's a question that's been debated for years. But before we get too deep into that, let's take a little detour into the world of anime. Kakegurui.
Now, this is a unique one. It's set in a school where gambling determines your social standing. These students literally bet their futures on these games of chance.
They do. And the main character, Yumeko Jibami, she's a transfer student who's incredibly skilled at gambling.
Really?
Yeah, she challenges the status quo and takes on the school's elite, making for some incredibly tense and entertaining gambling matches.
I mean, the animation style is incredible, very stylized and over the top, which fits the tone of the series perfectly.
Yes.
It's a great watch for anyone who enjoys anime or just wants something a little different.
Now let's lighten the mood a bit with a comedy.
Okay.
Win It All stars Jake Johnson as Eddie Garrett, a gambling addict who gets entrusted with this duffel bag full of cash while his friend is in prison.
What could possibly go wrong?
I know, right? Of course, Eddie can't resist the temptation to gamble with the money. And naturally, things kind of spiral out of control. It's a funny movie, but it has these moments of real tension and drama as Eddie is facing the consequences of his actions.
It's true. Win It All does a good job of, walking that line between comedy and seriousness.
Yeah.
Entertaining, but it also reminds us that gambling addiction is a real issue.
Yes.
With serious consequences. Now let's switch gears again and head over to the Netherlands with Ketikum.
This film explores a much darker side of gambling, match fixing in the world of soccer. It's a thriller that delves into this world of Organized crime and the length that people will go to for money.
The main character, Jermaine Slagter, is a young soccer player, caught in this web of gambling debts.
Yeah.
He gets forced into participating in these illegal activities, and the tension just keeps building.
It's a gripping story that exposes that corrupt underbelly of professional sports and the devastating consequences of getting involved with the wrong people.
From the glitz and glamour of Casino Royale to the, gritty realism of Catacomb, we're seeing just how diverse these gambling movies can be.
We are.
And we're just getting started.
That's right.
We have plenty more to discuss, including a real-life NBA scandal.
Oh, right.
A suspenseful poker movie.
Yes.
And some thought-provoking documentaries. But we'll save those for part 2.
We will.
So stay tuned. There's a lot more to unpack here. And in the meantime, we want to hear from you. What are some of your favorite gambling movies?
Yeah.
Let us know in the comments.
Welcome back to Gambling Flow. So glad to have you with us as we continue our deep dive into the world of gambling movies on Netflix.
We've already covered quite a bit of ground, from the high-stakes poker in Casino Royale to that raw intensity of Uncut Gems.
But we've got more cinematic treasures to unearth.
Right.
Remember that real-life NBA scandal we mentioned?
Yeah.
Well, Netflix actually has a documentary that covers it.
Oh, really?
Untold. Operation Flagrant Foul. This one tells the story of Tim Donaghy, an NBA referee who was accused of betting on the games he officiated.
Wow, that's wild.
It is. It's wild.
Yeah.
The documentary presents Donaghy's perspective, claiming he was part of this larger scheme, but some of his claims have been disputed, so it's important to view it with a critical eye.
Yeah, I mean, it's such a fascinating case, though, right? It raises a lot of questions about the integrity of professional sports.
Oh, yeah.
And, it shows how that allure of gambling can tempt even those in a position of authority.
Absolutely. Speaking of temptation, let's talk about Finder's Fee.
Okay.
This is a suspenseful poker movie with a really unique premise.
I like those.
Yeah, so the protagonist, Tepper, he finds a lost wallet, and it contains a winning lottery ticket worth millions.
Talk about luck.
I know, right? But here's the catch. He's about to participate in a high-stakes poker game, and the players all agree to put a lottery ticket into the pot.
Oh, the timing couldn't be worse.
I know, right? So he's faced with this dilemma. Does he reveal his secret and risk losing the ticket? Or does he try to win without letting anyone know what he's holding?
Oh, the tension.
Yeah.
As he's trying to navigate this tricky situation.
It's a real battle of wits and nerves, all while trying to keep his incredible secret.
As we're discussing all these films, one thing that really strikes me is how they often use gambling as a metaphor for something bigger.
I completely agree.
Like, it's not always just about the cards or the dice.
Yeah.
Like in Casino Royale, for instance. The poker game becomes like a representation of this larger conflict between Bond and Le Chiffre, good versus evil.
It does.
Right.
And in Uncut Gems, Howard's gambling addiction kind of mirrors those self-destructive tendencies.
Oh, yeah.
This inability to control his impulses, it becomes a commentary on addiction itself.
It's just fascinating how these movies can take something that seems so simple, like gambling, and weave it into these complex narratives about, human nature.
Absolutely. They explore themes of risk, reward, the consequences of our choices. They blur the lines between skill and chance, and they really highlight that psychological impact of both winning and losing.
We see that so clearly in, films like Uncut Gems, where that thrill of winning quickly turns into this desperate chase for the next high, and it ultimately leads to, devastating consequences.
Right. It's a reminder that gambling can be such a powerful force, both for good and bad.
For sure.
And it's so important to be mindful of that, to approach it responsibly.
Absolutely. Whether it's for entertainment or for, potential profit, gambling should always be done with caution and within one's means.
And it's crucial to recognize those signs of problem gambling and to seek help if needed, There are resources available for individuals and families who are struggling with addiction.
Yeah, something else that's really stood out to me is the sheer diversity of settings and cultures that are represented in all these Netflix movies.
That's a great point. We've got everything from the opulent casinos of Monte Carlo to those gritty streets of New York City, even a high school in Japan where gambling is a way of life.
It's a testament to this global appeal of gambling.
Yes.
How it manifests in different forms across, different cultures.
Right, and it allows viewers to kind of gain these different perspectives on the activity.
Yeah.
Kakagurui, for example, offers this really unique take on the social dynamics of gambling.
It shows how gambling can be so intertwined with, societal norms and hierarchies.
Right.
In that school, your skill at these games of chance
Yeah.
actually determines your social standing, your future prospects.
Exactly. It's a fascinating exploration of how something like gambling can shape an entire culture, how it can become so integral to that social fabric.
And then you have films like Catacomb, which give us this glimpse into that dark underbelly of illegal gambling
Uh-huh.
and its connections to organized crime.
Right. It's a stark reminder that gambling doesn't always operate within the boundaries of, legality and morality.
For sure.
There are consequences that extend far beyond just the individual gambler.
I think what's so compelling about all these movies
Yeah.
is that they offer more than just entertainment,
Yeah.
It's an opportunity for reflection,
Uh-huh.
for discussion.
Absolutely. They make us think critically about these complex issues surrounding gambling. They prompt us to consider the human stories behind the games.
Exactly. And speaking of human stories,
Yes.
one thing that really strikes me is how these films, even the fictional ones, manage to capture this very real human element of gambling.
I agree.
It's not just about the odds or the strategies.
Yeah.
It's about the people involved, their motivations,
Yes.
their hopes, their fears, their triumphs, their struggles.
Absolutely. And that's something we often forget when we talk about gambling, in the abstract. We
Wow.
get so caught up in the statistics, the house edge, all these systems.
Yeah.
But ultimately, it's a human activity with very real human consequences.
It's a reminder that gambling, much like life itself, is filled with uncertainty.
It is?
We can make calculated risks.
Uh-huh.
We can try and tip the scales in our favor, but ultimately the outcome is never guaranteed.
And that element of chance, that unpredictable nature of the game, that's part of what makes it so alluring, so captivating.
Right.
It's a reflection of life itself.
Yeah.
One point I do want to emphasize, though, is that these films often portray gambling as this very solitary pursuit. But in reality, it's actually a social activity quite often.
Oh, that's a great point.
Yeah, people gather in casinos, at racetracks, around poker tables to share in that excitement, the camaraderie, the thrill of the game.
Right.
And it's important to remember that gambling, when it's done responsibly and in moderation, can be a form of entertainment, social interaction. It
Right.
can bring people together, create these shared experiences.
Yeah, so the next time you're watching a gambling movie, think about those connections, the human element behind the games.
Absolutely. Consider those stories of the players, the allure of the unknown, and the impact it has on their lives. And remember that gambling, like life itself, is a journey filled with risks, rewards, and a whole lot of uncertainty.
Well said.
We've covered a lot of ground today,
We have.
but there's always more to explore.
Always?
And we'd love to hear your thoughts.
Oh, yeah.
Which movies have you seen?
Right.
What resonated with you? What are your own experiences with gambling?
Sure.
Share your comments below and join the conversation.
And if you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe to Gambling Flow for more deep dives into the exciting world of gambling. We release new episodes every day, so there's always something new to discover.
And don't forget to like, comment, and share this episode with your friends. We appreciate your support.
I'm Russell Kane.
And I'm Fiona Blake.
Thanks for tuning in to Gambling Flow. Until next time, remember to gamble responsibly, and good luck out there.